Hi, aloha. This is Laura Galdo with Live with Purpose. And now that you watched part one of my interview with Eileen Silverberg, the creator of ES Aloha Soul meditation practice and the author of A Warrior of Light, we have part two coming up. We decided to do this three-part interview, or this interview, and break it into three parts because there's so much information. And there's so many actionable tips that you, the audience, can gather and help you in your own life growth. And so we decided to make it a three-part. So make sure to subscribe, make sure to share and love, and leave us a comment so we know what other types of material or content you would like me to create for you. And if you are taking into consideration some of these stuff that we're giving you here today or tomorrow, or whenever you decide to watch these episodes. So coming up, part two of Eileen Silverberg interview with Live with Purpose, Laura Galdo. But I want to take you back to the end of what you said before going to Hawaii. Yes. And I think it's a very, very serious and straight message and clear message that you sent there. A lot of times we encounter people in life and they say, oh, he did this to me, or she did this to me, or she insulted me. And always remember that it is not about you or the individual. It's about the lesson that it encompasses in a certain situation. And also, in limiting beliefs, don't say, oh, it's because of me. I'm sending the wrong message, or I am not good enough, or I have an accent, or whatever the situation is. Always remember that perhaps, just perhaps, yes, you have a lesson to learn, but maybe you are there for the other person to learn the lesson himself or herself. Exactly. And so you're like a tool, that person have encountered in his or her life to learn a lesson, because we are here, all of us, to learn lessons, you as well as the other people. And so it's not about him, and it's not about you or her, it's not about you. It's about the reason to be, why we're here, the purpose of life.
Well, yes, because what happens is, once you learn, wait, people don't know. People don't know. When you give the chance to understand that we are doing the best we can under our knowledge, mm-hmm. of what we have learned, then you realize that I cannot do anything differently. Or the person that hurt you, the person that bully you, the person that doesn't love you, doesn't know any better. That does not come by saying you are going to exonerate, let's say, someone who raped someone or someone who abused someone. I'm not doing that. But what I'm trying to tell people, and this is very, very close to my work, is that we need to learn how to understand that these people, if you were that person and you were in the same circumstances that person was, most likely you will be in the circumstance that person is at that moment. That doesn't mean that it's great or bad, or do you understand? It means that you understand that is their story. Mm-hmm. By doing that, you learn it's not against me. That's the only way they can be. So can move from being a victim to be an empowered person.
Okay. So can we use these, what you just said, as three of the tips that you want to offer people? Absolutely. So I think that this could be three of the tips to believe in yourself, to believe that there's nothing wrong with you, and to believe that everything is doable and possible as long as you do your homework, like we say here in our video podcast. Anything is possible as long as you do your homework. But What is that homework? Understanding what you're just talking about. So what are three tips that you can give someone to understand this, parting from this principle of I can be better, but I can do anything?
Well, personal growth is important. Taking that time taking the time to get to know yourself. We spend so much time trying to figure out the other person. Why is the other person saying what they're saying? Why is the person not behaving the way I want them to behave? Why does my boyfriend doesn't love me? Why is my mom screaming at me? Why is my dad drinking like oblivious?
Doubting yourself and your position in front of others.
It's time to say, who am I, and how can I change my path, my growth, my journey, without having to think of how these other people are ruling my life. Yes. And the moment you decide to do that is empowering. Yes, taking time to study yourself, to get your own mentors, to have your own coaches. I think that the best investment in life that you can do is that, because you are going to get people that perhaps if you don't know what is it that you have to offer, other people can give you clues of what is it that is within you that is grandiose and you can share with. So your story is always that for you to share. This is what we're here to serve others with our story. And that's the biggest beauty is that your life has a meaning. And if you start changing the perspective, as I said, my product is elevated perspective. And that's it. That's all I sell you. You're going to come to me. I'm going to talk to you, and your perception of what you deem as a negative is going to change because you discover who you are. And once you discover who you are, then you discover, oh my gosh, life is here for me, not against me.
Exactly.
I'm here to be of service to others because of my story.
So tip number 1, understand that life is here for you to serve you and not for you to give you trouble. Tip number 2 would be who are you? Understand who you are. Yes. And then parting from there, it'll be a lot easier to know the how to then take the steps to enhance your life, to take advantage of the tools that you have along your path to grow. So I want to and take
actions that you're going to take.
The actions you're going to take. By understanding all that, then you know that, okay, fine, I have this now I can move on and take the action. So you were going to talk about your experience in Hawaii and the things that you learned in Hawaii. And now let's just move on to that and how you use that and how that serves you. It's not, I don't like to use the word use sometimes because it's a little bit, it has a negative connotation, but how that experience has been serving you until up to today with your in your life, in your marriage, as a mother, in your business, and with your mother. So if you want to go ahead and delve into that, let's do it.
Well, my first trip to Hawaii, and after that I had many others, I discovered something I didn't know back then what it was, but there was this different philosophy. And the moment you understand that life is about a philosophy and what philosophy you want to live your life under, then you start saying, okay, I'm not just living a life, I'm living life through a philosophy that I decide to have. Once I understood that I'm connected to everything, and as many of us, as a Latina woman, I'm very proud of my heritage. I was raised as a Catholic. It was beautiful, but the connection was not made yet. I never really put it together that I was God's favorite child. That I knew, but I didn't know exactly what my grandfather actually tried to tell me, but I never really overanalyzed the situation. I just assumed he was right because I felt really special to his, the way he was seeing me. I felt, oh my gosh, I have to be his favorite because that's what my grandfather says, period. Now, it's not until I go into a different culture and they see life differently. They see the union of the universe with you in it, that I have a shift of perspective. And with that, I understood that everything I was walking and everything that I was experiencing was part of me in this world. And as it turned out, I had different experiences, some magnificent and some others not as magnificent. But
Like everything.
I got lessons and that I learned. And through that, and I'm so grateful for that, because it got me to the point where I had to do a lot of work for me, work and being able to,
Mhm.
we call it to forgive, but actually it's not that you're forgiving anybody, because who are you to forgive anyone? But to forgive yourself for having that actually, instead of allowing you to advance, it was preventing you from advancing. And once you get that message, you
Mhm.
understand that forgiveness is beautiful, because at the end of the day, who you end up forgiving is yourself. I like to use images to demonstrate that. It's like forgiveness, or feeling that you cannot forgive someone feels like when you have a hot charcoal, and you reach and you put it in your hand. The moment you take it out, you start alleviating. That doesn't mean that the pain was not there. It means that it feels lighter. It feels that it's going to heal. It will heal. You will you will remember what it was, but you will not have the same reaction. Now the reaction is not the same.
The approach
So
is different. The thought is different.
it's
Yeah.
completely different. And that is, and how important it is, of how important we are in this world, is takes me then to experiencing my life with my mother, a powerful mother, hard mom. Many things that I deem were not necessary when I was growing up, but then again, understanding that that's all she knew. She didn't know any better. And when I look back, I feel like my grandmother didn't know any better. So my mom knew what my grandma knew, and so on and so forth. So the good news is, then you can say to me, oh, wait, Aileen, then that means I'm doomed. Because if my grandma this and then my mother this, then forget it. No, it means that if you're self-aware, if you do your homework, if you invest in personal
Education.
acknowledgement, and being able to figure out what are the patterns that have been giving you characteristics, but that's not your spark. That is not who you are. That is not your uniqueness. Then you can become the repairer of your family tree. You can make things differently. And then you leave being a victim to be the organizer of an amazing adventure. So what happens is, here I have dealt with a lot of pain. I have done my forgiveness. My mom and I were in a situation where now we were best friends. I could understand the pain that my mom had. My mom was a single mother. I understand why she puts so much pressure on me to be a trophy, because for goodness sakes, as a single mom, she felt I need to show the world that I did not make this huge mistake, which she didn't make a mistake. Poor thing. She never really got the memo from the universe, but that's okay. I got the memo. And then once I realized that that's who she was, I was able to say, oh my gosh, she deserves a break. Of course. And then me dealing with, yes, I am not perfect. Yes, I'm going to make mistakes that I can repair. Yes, I need to love myself first before I please everybody else. Then I understood where all my hangups and all my pressure and my exhaustion. I was exhausting trying to show everybody that I was, this amazing person. Even my accent, it's like, oh, screw it. So I have an accent. You know what? It doesn't matter how many languages classes I take. The accent is not leaving this woman. Embrace the accent. Make it part of who you are. Why are you wanting to change that? So life can become so exhausting. And that's what I say. Once you realize life is for you, not against you, then you can make changes that will direct you to the right path, to the right journey.
And it's a good message, again, going back to that. The accent does not define you, and the accent does not stop you from continuing to learn. So you can get to beyond a PhD level in education of life, like I say, not PhD at university necessarily, but you can get to a PhD level, PhD plus plus plus, as you continue to embrace education in different ways, and all these things that you have been doing and that we all do. We're people of light, people that we want to teach and serve, but it is because we are receiving so much, and we are acknowledging the fact that being thankful, for me, it has to be there on an everyday basis. And so an accent, a background, or skin color, religious belief, it does not define me, because that's not what I am. Like you say, I am myself itself, to learn and to grow and serve. Mm-hmm. And so I believe that you learned a little bit of this on your path through Ho'oponopono. You want to tell us a little bit about that and what you represent here?
Yes, it is, of course, I was very linked, and this is how amazing life is. Life positions you. It's like when you say, oh, what a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. It's the universe trying to let you know, hey, you are a unique part of me. And this is why coincidence happened. I've been going to Hawaii a lot, vacationing there. I have been taking my hula classes. I've been speaking with gurus in the field, and I'm getting all this information. And I'm so grateful that I had. And my life starts changing. It is not until, I'm going to say maybe 10 years ago now, because, when I wrote the book, I wrote 7, but it's been like 10 now, that I'm going to see my mother who developed dementia at a very early age. And as an only child, imagine the guilt of not living at home, close to my mother who lived in Puerto Rico. I live now in Florida, but back then, 20 years ago, I moved to Florida so I could be closer to my mother. So the guilt was creeping in, that feeling that is the one of the most devastating feelings, because it actually takes away that shine.
Oh, yes.
That is supposed to be part of who you are.
A guilt feeling, that guilt. Oh, wow. Oh, yes. I think we all, at some point in our lives, we have felt that. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And in one of my trips, I will go every month to see my mom for at least a week, so I can be there and, assess whatever it was that I needed to assess. And still at this moment, she was in her beginning stages, which I did not realize, but I knew something was going wrong, and I couldn't pinpoint what it was. Or actually I did. She was very afraid of acknowledging it. So I had to be very careful on how I brought it. So my dedication was, I'm going to be with my mom more often. So I will go every month. And in one of those trips that I'm doing, I'm also having situations, my husband is not feeling well and something is going on with his heart. And at the same time, I have our daughters going to college, and, she's for the first time leaving home and leaving the nest, and all these things that were changing.
When everything happens at the same time, in life, we have these moments, like everything seems to happen.
And exactly, it's like, what is going on? It's like everything at once. It's an avalanche of situations that I thought to myself, okay, got everything under control. And as I'm going through the airport and I forgot to bring a book, I go to one of the bookstores and I find the book from Dr. Joe Vitale and Dr. Ihialakala Hulen. And I thought, I mean, it's called going to the, zero something. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the book precisely, but Zero Limits or something like that. And but what really struck me was that I love Dr. Joe Vitale, but not only that, Dr. Ihalakala Hulan. And when I looked, it's about the art of Ho'oponopono and how Dr. Joe Vitale learns about the Hawaiian practice of Ho'oponopono. And I thought, and at that point, silly me, thought, oh my gosh, this is great. A book about Hawaii. This is exactly what I need. Something that will take me back to my beautiful island of Hawaii. I always said I'm from Puerto Rico and I'm an island girl, and Hawaii is like the island that I think I belonged to before Puerto Rico. So I figured, oh, I'm gonna just read something about Hawaii and the lush and beauty and the waterfalls and the water life and all this stuff.
And the paradise that Hawaii represents for so many.
And when I sat down, was like I devoured the book. I could not believe what treasure I had in my hands. It was actually talking about Ho'oponopono with the name. It had a name. Everything that I have learned in Hawaii had a name. What I was learning in Hawaii with my teachers were the real meaning of what Ho'oponopono is, but it had it didn't have the name. So I learned about Ho'oponopono. I learned how Dr. Hulen had healed a whole pavilion of mentally ill people in jail. I mean, these were criminals that were mentally ill, and how he healed them through the practice of Ho'oponopono, which is the practice of self-forgiveness. And what it explained was that you are responsible for everything that you see and deem perfect or incorrect. And it is your job to clear it, to clean it, and to make it better. And this is what you're here for. So I'm reading this and I thought, I need to go back to Hawaii because now I need to take a course on this. Now I'm going to clear, I'm going to clean, I'm going to become the cleaner. And I did eventually. I mean, it was very pricey at the time. And I started taking courses and I'm very grateful I was able to do that.
So let's move forward a little bit and tell us how you can make this Ho'oponopono practice available to so many here in the United States. And how you that channel that for people to understand Ho'oponopono, like me, I had no idea, to be honest, and I think I told you. And then all of a sudden, you think sometimes I've taken so many courses already, and then someone like you comes along and it's like, here, have you heard of this? I'm like, no, I haven't. And we are always so curious. And it's like, okay, so thank you for that. And tell us a little bit about how you make people like me be aware of this wonderful practice.
Thank you. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this because, there's still a lot of people, Ho'oponopono, because of the book of Joe Vitale, got a word out there in the Western civilization. And that was the great job that Joe Vitale did, marketing about it and making Dr. Hulen very famous here in the United States. But what happens with Ho'oponopono, which is not a religion whatsoever, it does not interfere with your religion either. So what it is a philosophy of life. And this is how then I become a mentor and a coach, because I figure this is what we're missing. We're missing out of a lot of therapy, which is very important for many people. And I think that is crucial. But what we're missing is that we are seeing life and we go to so many doctors trying to figure out, I don't want to be depressed anymore, or I don't want to feel this pain anymore. And you sit down and you talk and recapture your pain again and again and again. And then you're listened you're being listened. So you feel good because you can talk, but you keep recapturing your problem. Let's call it problem, I quote unquote, because it's not a problem, it's a situation, but that's okay. And then you get a pill, and then that pill gives you other side effects that make you more depressed and more unable to deal with the situation. And it's a circle of horrendousness that you cannot get out. So in a way, in a big way, Ho'oponopono teaches you that you are in control of eliminating that there are, and that's the pillar of my work, is showing you that you have thoughts that create feelings, that feelings become actions. And if you're not aware of it, this is what's going to happen. You're going to have a thought. You're going to think, you don't even know that the thought is there. You just think that you only are feeling. And because you're feeling, you cannot deal. And because you cannot deal, you have an action that is not healthy. So what I do is, through Ho'oponopono, teach you that everything starts with a thought. So that thought you have trigger a memory, which is what they call in Ho'oponopono, a memory is what you remember. And probably you do not remember right now that you went through it. And many of our memories are in a big archive and you have no idea where they are.
Yeah.
They're totally blocked.
Yeah.
And that's what the subconscious is. So being able to do a lot of creative writing, whatever are the tools that I'm using, where you start seeing, oh, wow, I do talk this way. Oh, I do think all the time in this fashion. Once you're aware of your shadow, of that negative side of you, let's call it negative, now you realize, oh my gosh, this is why people hate me and they don't want to hang out with me because I'm so negative. Which is good. I mean, I laugh, and it's not that I'm laughing. It's just like once you discover it, it's like, yes, let's celebrate. Now you see why. Now you can change it. We're going to correct it, which Ho'oponopono is what it means. Ho means to make. That's the verb, to make. Pono is to make, correct. So to make a correction in you, not in others. You're not going to Ho'oponopono. Many people say, I need to do Ho'oponopono to change my husband because he's driving me crazy through the pandemic. No, sweetie. No, we're not going to change hobby. We're going to change us.
You.
Right. So through Ho'oponopono, we are self-aware that there is a memory, a limited belief. It happens all the time with money. Why can I get successful? But when I sit with my clients and they're telling me, well, money doesn't grow on trees, I'm like, there you go. That's your thought. You're having a thought that money is not available in an abundant way. So there's no way you're going to action differently.
And that's another thing that I think we can do. I'd like to do another episode about money and about the power of a lot of people have that limitation, and I include myself. I have to include myself that has been one of my major, I don't want to say problems, but one of my major limitations or limiting beliefs that I've gone through. So that'll be another amazing thing that I really want to do and put out there, because I don't think I'm the only one, and I know that a lot of people are going through how do I charge? Do I charge? How do I attract the right clients? Am I being a bad person if I charge too much, or am I being a bad person for myself if I charge too little? So that's another whole topic about it that has to do with guilt, with limiting beliefs, and also
blockage. And through Ho'oponopono, I work through it, and I know that a lot of people say, but how can you do that like that? You know what it is? It's an action. You do take action with Ho'oponopono. You have a lot of faith. you have a lot of mantras and you work a lot with mantras. So you have a mantra that takes you through your day and through your situation without expecting anything.
And that's another thing that I wanted to ask you, and maybe we can do it here in the little time that we have left. But if you want to offer some sort of, because I know that you hold workshops in Ho'oponopono, which maybe briefly you can tell us a little bit about it, and then later we can put a link down so that people can read on and ask you more questions about it. But some of the exercises that you do in your Ho'oponopono, I know that your workshops are like 2-3 hours long, but maybe in 1 minute or so or less, you can give us a couple of exercises to go within. Do you think that maybe you can give us something?
Absolutely, I would love.
Wow. Well, my friends, this is the end of part 2 of my 3-part interview with Eileen Silverberg. I'm Laura Galdo, host of the Life with Purpose video podcast, recording both audio and video so you can watch and listen, or just listen at your leisure in the comfort of any space you choose, like me here right now in my studio, office, everything else. Live with Purpose is a profound weekly discussion that explores how to discover ways to improve in all areas of your life using different tools like the Wheel of Life, the 5 W's and the H, or the 4 Selves. If you're new to the show, thanks for finding me. And if you're a return visitor, thanks for your loyalty. Please share with everyone and subscribe to my channel so you get a notification every time there's a new episode coming up. So like now, tune in to find out what we have saved for the end here in the conclusion of Dancing with Aloha Soul and its creator, Eileen Silverberg. Make sure you like, you share, and you comment so that I can bring you more content like this. Bye-bye. Laura Galdo here, Live with Purpose. Take it away.